Last time we put LeBron James into the WNBA to see how good he would be in that league, and you guys seem to like that video quite a bit. So today we're going to be finding out what would happen if Shaquille O'Neal was in the WNBA. I think he'll be even better than LeBron James. The reason for this is because he was the most dominant inside scorer in the NBA. So putting him in the WNBA, he's just going to be even better. So we're in the WNBA My League right now, and as you can see, we're on the Los Angeles Sparks, and I've put all-time Shaq onto the team, and he's going to be a 99 overall paint beast with 29 badges. Now, Shaq is purely an inside scorer and, of course, an inside defender here. He's not going to do great defending players on the outside, on the perimeter, and also he can't shoot at all. And I've changed all the WNBA players' ratings to reflect this. So the WNBA players, they're still going to be able to shoot good. Whatever their mid-range and three-point rating was, I kind of kept that around the same. But things like inside scoring, dunking, and rebounding is going to be close to the bottom compared to Shaquille O'Neal, just because of how dominant Shaq is. And then I have done this for the entire NBA, so the ratings are going to be a lot lower. Normally in the WNBA, some of these player ratings are up to a 95, and in that league, Shaq would not be dominant at all. So of course, like I said earlier, we reflected the attributes based off of Shaq's skills. But some of the top players, Elena Delle Donne, Brianna Stewart, Maya Moore, Candace Parker, all up there still. So the players that are better at shooting, of course, are going to be doing better against Shaq. And any players that kind of depend on inside scoring aren't going to be doing too great this season. But we're just going to simulate through a season with Shaq on the Los Angeles Sparks and see how good he can do. See if he can do better than LeBron James. So I'm gonna have Shaq playing 48 minutes a game. Why not? Just to see how crazy he can go. And then if we come over to coaching here, Shaq is going to be our main scorer. Offensive focus is going to be playing through Star. I'm not sure if this will be the best thing. We mostly just want to get Shaq posted up and have him scoring inside. So hopefully they do pass him in the post during the season. And then for our system, we're going to make it post-centric. Of course, we got Shaq on the team. We got to do that. Let's just get right into our first game here to see how Shaq does in the first game up against the Las Vegas Aces and the Sparks with a huge W here, 97-44. So checking out the Aces, I mean, just looking at the stats right now, they did not do good at all. And checking out their rebounds, they only got 2 rebounds the entire game. And oh my gosh, Shaquille O'Neal just pulled 70 rebounds against the Las Vegas Aces. Only 33 points, which is not too high. I thought he would have done a little better, especially with 70 rebounds, which is just ridiculous. There had to be, I mean, just a lot of defensive rebounds, of course, with the other team missing so much. The Aces shot 33%. Shaq didn't do great from the field goal. They did hack him quite a bit, so he went to the free throw line quite a bit, but I mean, he still shot pretty decent, especially for his rating, and 4 blocks this game as well. Obviously doesn't really pass the ball much, but Shaq just went crazy with 70 rebounds here. Hopping into the second game, another huge win here for the Sparks, 94-33 this time, and Shaq doing even better this game, 47 points this game and 76 rebounds. He's still not shooting amazing, but he is getting most of the Sparks points. Now, these games are shorter than NBA games. They're 10-minute quarters, so obviously Shaq doesn't have as much time. He's playing 40 minutes per game. I don't know why you can put the minutes to 48 minutes when there's actually not 48 minutes in the game. There's actually only 40 minutes, so that is a little confusing. Coming over to league leaders here, for some reason, Shaq is not at the top. This doesn't make sense at all. He obviously has more rebounds and points per game, but for some reason he isn't showing up in any of these stats. He shows up in player stats here, but not in the league leaders. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a glitch or something, but let's just continue the rest of the season. I mean, Shaq going off. All right, we made it to the end of the season, and of course, Shaquille O'Neal gonna get MVP here. His scoring kind of went down at the end of the season. He ends up with 39.6 points per game, which is pretty insane. Usually the top WNBA scorer gets around 20, And then what's even crazier, 63.1 rebounds. So he was just so dominant in the paint. And then blocks, he had 2.7 blocks per game as well. And that will also make him the defensive player of the year. The LA Sparks are going to get the best record in the league, going 34-0, which is the perfect amount of wins for Shaquille O'Neal. And then for some reason, we come over to league leaders here. It still doesn't show Shaq's stats at all for some reason, but the next top scorer was Tina Charles with 15.7 points per game. So Shaq over doubled the next best scorer in the WNBA, Candace Parker with 15.1. I want to do another simulation, a season simulation in this video with Shaq on a worst team. So the worst team in the league was the Connecticut Sun. So I'm actually going to put Shaq on there to see if he would do a little better without any other star players. But he doubled the rebounds per game out of any other player. If we come here to rebounds per game are higher than it usually is in the WNBA. Usually the top rebounder gets around 10 rebounds per game. This is almost double to 19.6. But compared to Shaq's 63.1, that 19.6 is pretty much nothing. And blocks per game, Brittany Griner actually averaged 2.7 blocks per game, which was the same as Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq also shot 64% from the field. Realistically, I think that would be a lot higher in the WNBA. But 64.7% is still really good. He almost doubled anybody else in the WNBA. So just a really, really dominant season here for Shaq. And let's see if the Sparks are going to go ahead and win the WNBA Finals, facing off against Washington in the conference finals. Let's just simulate the round, and that's an easy 3-0 victory for the Sparks, facing off against the New York Liberty in the NBA Finals. Of course, let's just simulate another 3-0 victory. Shaquille O'Neal with the Finals MVP, and he averaged 48 points per game, 71 rebounds. I mean, these stats are just crazy. Checking out the WNBA records for points in a season, nobody even coming close to him now. 1,300 points in a single season. Field goals made, 527. Of course, he's not going to get up there for three-pointers, but for free throws, surprisingly, Shaq is at the top. Despite how bad he is at shooting free throws, he is now the greatest free throw shooter in WNBA history. Rebounds, and these are the rebounds from this season, which are a little glitched out in the game when I actually do these simulations. And he actually doesn't get up here for blocks per game. He did not get many blocks, which was a little surprising. I definitely thought he would have had a lot of blocks. But those are all the stats for Shaq. Now let's put him on the worst team and see if he can do even better. So I put Shaq on the Connecticut Sun, and his stats are quite a bit different here. On the upside, he actually averaged way more points on this team. Instead of 39.6 points per game, he's now averaging 48.8 points per game and 59.7 rebounds, which is only about 3 rebounds lower. And he also had 2.3 blocks per game, which is a little lower than last time, but is still very good. He shot better from the field goal, shooting 69.2%. So overall, looks like Shaq did a little better on the Connecticut Sun. And of course, he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year as well. Yet again, it's glitched out where Shaq doesn't show up on the league leaders. I don't know if it's because he's the only male in the WNBA or something, but he actually does not show up here at all. But our next best scorer was Candace Parker with 17.5 points per game. So now Shaq getting away from the next best scorer in the league. He scores so many more points, almost 10 points per game more, nearing that 50 point per game mark. Rebounds per game, our next best rebounder had 18.4. Of course, Shaq with, 59? And blocks per game, Shaq actually did not have the most blocks per game. He would have been second in the league, but he also would have had the best field goal percentage. For some reason, Shaq doesn't show up on points per game either when we come to NBA records. But if we go over to his total points, of course, he has doubled anybody else in the WNBA, scoring even more this season. So blocks per game, he would have had to get up to 2.9 blocks per game to actually make it in the top 10 in WNBA history. And then another thing I did not check out last time was the 40 and 50 point games. So this season, Shaq had 30 40-point games, which 17 of those were 50-point games. So crazy for Shaq here. If we check out his game highs, he dropped 62 points in one game this season, 26 field goals. He attempted 36 the one game. He didn't make a single three-pointer all season. He actually didn't even attempt any, which is the smart thing to do. Free throws made, he had 18. Free throws attempted, 27. So that is some bad free throw shooting. For some reason, it only shows 63 rebounds as a season high, but if you go to league leader, it was Shaq with 83. So he had 83 rebounds one game, 55 offensive, 38 defensive. And then he also played 40 minutes every game, so he's at the top for that as well. The Connecticut Sun gonna go 34-0 as well, and they should win the NBA Finals here. They do, of course. Shaq averaged 42.3 points per game and 72.7 rebounds. Just complete domination by Shaquille O'Neal here, putting up even crazier stats than LeBron James was able to put up when we put him in the WNBA. And honestly, I don't think there's a player that would be more dominant in the WNBA than Shaquille O'Neal. Just because his play style, just because of his inside scoring, nobody would be able to stop it. But that is going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you do smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been your boy Smequle, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the